Welcome, Tony. Welcome to the Nagual Zone. I'm Anaam, and today is it's quite a landmark kind of moment because this is the first interview on this channel. As you all know, I only do Toltec kind of content on the channel, but Tony and what he stands for is so compelling and is so close to certain parts of the Toltec wisdom lore that I approached him. I felt, got to get him on and just have him synergize with us. And so sit back and hope that you get as much out of it as I will. Welcome, Tony. Thank you for coming on and giving of your precious time. I want to start straight away with a bit of a recap for anyone who's new to the soul trick, which I like that. I like that a lot more than soul trap. Soul trick is brilliant. A bit of a recap of what it means to you and what conclusions you've come to about it.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your platform, Anand, and providing this space for, people to hear and to, yeah, access new information. So, I mean, I guess some of your viewers may have already heard about what I'm now calling the soul trick. Um, I don't like using the term soul trap because it implies that we're here forever, and I don't really feel that's the case. I feel that we have an opportunity, especially in this lifetime, to basically get the hell out of here. Unless, of course, you want to stay and you want to come back again. Um, so basically, yeah, the soul trick. I actually came across it a number of years ago now. Must have been about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, where I kind of came across it, but when you hear things, but you don't necessarily go down those rabbit holes straight away. There's been a number of those down the years where, I've heard of different concepts, but I kind of, it was in the back of my mind, and then I went back to it, and I guess the way things have panned out for me, I wasn't ready to go deep into that at that stage. There were other things that I kind of needed. When I look back, it's almost like synchro-mystical how things have aligned to the point of where I am with this information. And when I describe the soul trick, I describe it as like the cherry on the pile of dog shit, right? There's not much further you can go in terms of, the going down rabbit holes and coming to truths. I think once you get to the soul trick, you're pretty much there, right? In terms of knowing what you need to know. If obviously you can get past your feelings about it all. And this is the problem, because a lot about the soul trick, especially when you research NDEs and the things that people go through. My God, does it make you feel gooey inside? My God, do they put a show on for people at that point? And I mean, we'll get into all of that in a minute, but so I first heard about it just around the same kind of time when I was finding about or going deeper with a lot of the new age deceptions, and particularly in terms of chakras and things like that, and understanding like entities and entity attachments and how they're manipulating not only world leaders but all of us. We all are subject to their interference, their manipulation, and people can be absolutely taken over by some entities, depending on the strength of the entity. And I do believe that many people here are literally just hosts for entities. And I talk about a lot, when you research like murders and people that have survived rape and things like that, where they would say that the person told me to not look at my eyes, and the eyes turned black and thing. And I've actually experienced that myself, with with a couple of people down the years. And so I've drawn the conclusion that actually, these entities are manipulating all of us, and yeah, to different extremes. So
Mm.
you have regular people that have regular attachments, and there'll be, the voices in the head go on, go and have that beer, go on, just do that line of coke or whatever, that kind of the voice in the head to try and, well, anything that's not going to benefit you, anything that is going to take you off your path, waste your time. So everyone is subject to that kind of interference, but then you have, more heavier attachments where, people have suicidal thoughts that aren't their own. I've had clients down the years that have said, Tony, I was driving the car and this voice told me to drive it into a brick wall. And I'm like, where did that voice come from? So these are just like normal people. And then you have the extremes to where I mentioned before, where these entities are just out there in the world and, and totally taken over people. And this is why, there's so much evil. And as humans, we struggle to understand why people do certain things. Well, I would suggest that these are not actually people. Their vessel may be like human, but their internal spirit, if you like, is that of an entity. And of course, we know, and it's well documented that our world leaders are, basically non-human. I'm not the first person to talk about that, and probably not going to be the last person. But I think where I guess my work does differ is in the fact that I talk a lot about how these things manipulate all of us, and of course, they're feeding on our energy, particularly our fear, our anxiety, our depression, our sadness. This is why we're kept in a constant state of perpetual wars and famines, and all this stuff, like over and over again, generation after generation after generation. It never changes. Earth's history is just littered from generation to generation with all these things that, basically are harvesting our energy, our loosh. These are, it's triggering for a lot of people to hear this, but I just call it as it is. Earth is not a school, it's a farm.
Mm.
Within the new age arenas, these pseudo spiritual arenas, we're constantly told that, we're here to learn lessons. Well, how many times do we need to be a child in a war zone, or how many times do we have to go through famine, or how many times do we have to go through trauma of abandonment, betrayal, like before we quote unquote learn our lessons? And when you look at the soul trick, they wipe the memory. It's you that you
That
go
one.
through. Yeah, you
That
go
one. I
through.
wanted to I wanted to ask you there, Tony, what do you think? Uh, what do you if the whole soul trick, I believe that there's a corporate cult in what could be called fixed dream time, which we call reality or real, REEL or REAL. You can take your pick either way. It's the
Oh
same
yeah,
deal.
etymology.
It's the same deal. But that same cult extends into the fluid dream time, which people call death or whatever. But it's the same cult working both sides. Fluid dream time,
Absolutely.
and the same cult fixes the dream time for everyone, which in Toltec terms called consensus reality.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, when you look at see these entities, they're master tricksters. That's why it's called a matrix, right? And they know all our weak spots, and they probably know us better than we know ourselves. um, and when you look at how, for example, politicians will masquerade and whisper sweet nothings in our ears. How many have we got down? The one at the moment is Trump. I mean, for God's sake, this guy is like, there's a cult around him now. I mean, he's the next savior apparently, and He's taken down the cabal, even though he was telling people to inject themselves a few years ago. I mean, how short a memories people have. So these entities are master tricksters. They're master masqueraders. They are smokes and mirrors, and they say and do one thing, and they will do exactly the opposite. For example, you know, when you have a politician, he will stand in front of you and he's going to say, I'm on your side, you know, I know this needs to change, and yada 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 yada, and where you're free, you know, your freedom, we have freedom. And you know, gets all the people cajoled, and you know, oh yeah, he's a good guy. I mean, we had a guy the other year in the UK called Jeremy Corbyn, and he also had a cult, you know, the old man that was supposedly for peace, you know, and then on the back end he's supporting, you know, Israel and all this. And then in America they had Bernie Sanders, you know, they have all these characters, and they're all masquerading to be something as they're not. And then you have, you know, a lot of the celebrity truthers like Russell Brand, and
Oh,
you yeah, who's giving his version of half truths, and you know, all these cronies, you know, the controlled opposition crowd. And so what they do is they tell you what you want to hear. They give you some half truths, because if they didn't give you any truths at all, you wouldn't be interested in them. So they pepper their BS with some truth. And so what does that do? People are like, oh yeah, he's great, she's great, yada yada yada, and they follow. And then where does it lead? It leads people over a cliff face. And actually, Russell Brand actually wrote a book called The Pied Piper, which is hilarious, you know, when you think about it. And so this is the same expression coming through the astral realm. This is what they do when we pass over. And this is where it gets it gets very triggering for people. And this is where people need to get out of their feelings about all of this, because of course, when you pass over, you want to believe that your family's there, you know, everyone's waiting for you, God's waiting for you, and all this stuff, and your angels and all that stuff. And this is where people get tying themselves in knots. And I think this is where we have ultimately, you know, this is the main problem, is because when we pass over, when you study these NDEs, there's so many things that happen. They put on a big show, a big grand show in this solar system, this soul trick. It's again the etymology, solar, luring the soul. So, so what happens is, you know, you pass over, you're like, oh my God, I've died. And because, you know, you've not done any research in your physical life, most people don't, you automatically gravitate towards the light. Not everyone sees the light, actually, but more often than not, there's the light tunnel, which I think is actually the moon. And they dazzle you. They dazzle you with the bright light, and then also the love bombing frequency, which is what I call a false light frequency. And so you're being dazzled by all of this, and also you're in shock because you realize you've just passed. And then this AI system seems to work out the best way of convincing you to come back. So for you, Anand, I'm not saying that you're into any of this or you're close to any of this. I'm just using this as an example. So okay, you were particularly, the AI will be like, okay, Anand was particularly close to his granddad, and also he was very much into angels when he was alive. So okay, we'll calculate that. So that stands the best chance of convincing him. So then what happens when you die? These entities can shapeshift and change form. You've got your granddad there, you've got Archangel Michael there, like, hey, Anan, you're home. Come with us. And you're like, oh, okay then, because you know, not you personally, most people they don't have any discernment skills. They just blindly believe, blindly trust. And the problem is that people are pedestalizing these entities automatically. So they're automatic, and I don't understand this. People automatically think that others know more than them, and so they gravitate here, and so they'll they'll sit you down and they'll be like, hey, you know, you were a good person, but oh no, so then they'll like, hey, you've got to come to a life review and have your
Mm.
life review. And people have described it as being like an auditorium where, you know, they're literally watching the screen, and these entities will say, hey, Anand, you know, we're going to show you this, but there's no judgment. There's no judgment. Sorry, when we're not here to judge you. But what do? They show you your bloody worst bits, right? So it's like, you know, 2010 when you hurt Bob, your neighbor, and you had an argument with Bob and you upset Bob, right? It's like, and then they make you feel what Bob felt, right? So they're not judging you, but they'll make you feel like how he felt. So the whole guilt and shame program, you're like, oh my God, like I really hurt Bob. I didn't realize I hurt him so much. And then these entities, you know, they'll be like, well, you know, you were a good person, but hey, you really hurt Bob. And, you know, they know that you were really into karma. They'll be like, hey, you know, and then if you were a good person, but you need to go back and learn these lessons because your karmic you know, your karmic score or whatever is it's going to be too high, and you know there's going to be problems. Or if you were religious, they'll be like, you know, when you hurt Bob, that was the day where your turning point went more towards hell, right?
Mm.
Then and you're like, oh my God, oh no, oh no, what can I do? What can I do? What do they do in this dimension? Problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem, get your reaction, and they offer the solution that they wanted to offer you in the first place. So you're now feeling all this guilt and shame, and you're feeling bad about yourself, and you know, oh my God. And so what do they do? Well, you know, there's a way out of this, Anand. Well, what's that then? Well, you need to go back. You need to learn your lessons, because then you can become as evolved as we are. I mean, who are these people? Like, who are these entities? Like, I mean, are they without any kind of sin or themselves? I mean, this is what really pisses me off. It's like, who are they? And I mean, we know who they are. They're downright evil, right? So if anyone needs to come back and resolve karma and all that, it's them. But we're so I don't know how to describe it, immature, babyish, in terms of our thought processes. I think we've literally forgotten how to think. We've literally forgotten the process of discernment, because there is a process. A discernment process is you're taking information, and then it's, for me, truth is a resonance. It's something that you can feel. And I'm not talking about, oh, it makes me feel good, like all the new age junk, right? Oh yeah, angels, all that stuff. Oh, my guides are with me. Oh yeah, that makes me feel good. No, I'm not talking about that kind of feeling. I'm talking about a deep resonance within your soul. And often that may not feel good, right? Because the truth often doesn't feel good. But is there that resonance? Okay, it's like a strong, okay, gut feeling, if you like. Okay, that feels true to me. So I'm going to go left, or I'm going to go right based on that feeling that I have. But when you research these NDEs, and when you just look at people generally in public, all these people that are into Trump, all these people that are into these, you know, new age deceivers, there's a couple of things going on. First of all, people are desperate for a savior. They are absolutely I mean, we have indoctrination ever since we have access to the TV, and you know, Superman, Spider-Man, and you know, all these saviors, and then we're presented with all these politicians, and so people are, they don't trust themselves, and they think that someone or something else is going to come in and do that work for them. And that is where you're going to step over the edge of a cliff, because no one is coming to do that for us. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. There's no politician out there that's coming to save you. Russell Brand's not coming to save you. Archangel Michael's not going to come to save you. God's not coming to save you. How do I know God's not coming to save you? Well, I've reviewed enough NDEs now where the people have, quote unquote, met God, and God has told them that, you know, you have free will, and then you know, everything, you're free, yada yada. And then in some cases, the person, the God says, oh, you need to come back though, because you have a mission, right? And then the person's like, no, 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 I don't want to come back. And then in the worst case scenario that I reviewed, the woman reports being stuffed back into her body, even though she said she didn't want to come. And so I'm not saying that there's not an intelligence design somewhere, but this within this matrix, there is a deceptive God. And and so this is the problem. We're waiting around, hoping someone else will come and save us, do the work for us, and it's not going to happen. And if you go down that road, I mean, even guides. I mean, if your guides are so good, what are you still doing here in a realm of trauma and suffering, right? Like they're not
Mm.
doing a very good job, are they? Right?
No, they're not guiding very
Yeah.
well.
I mean, for God's sake, it's like. But you know what? Part of me understands because, well, the other reason that people are making these mistakes is because they're so desperate for something to feel good, so desperate for something to lean into to help them deal and cope with this reality, because it's harsh, right? There's no way of you can pretend or try and bend the truth into and pretend to yourself that this realm is 5D new earth, love and light. But it's not. I mean, the fact is that we are pumped daily with fear, propaganda. As I already said, that the history is littered with just wars and famines, and the fact that we are kept in scarcity all the time, the fact that we have to pay for a living. I mean, you don't see the birds or the fish or out there paying for their nest and all that stuff. Like just even that. I mean, little things like that people don't question. It's constant. And a lot of people have had abuse in childhood, to different degrees. Some people more than others. So I really, really get on a soul level why people want to feel good and why they want to lean into things like guides and angels and God and all this stuff. Like I have, and especially the last few days, I've really, I don't know, I've gone through a deep compassion for humanity, and I guess critical is the wrong word, but I see the way people escape themselves, whether it be through drugs, alcohol, weed, whatever, right? There's so many things that people escape themselves in. And it's important to call those things out. But the last few days I've really been like, can you really blame anyone
No.
really for finding this reality so difficult? They've been through probably a lot of trauma
And a
and
lot of them, Tony, especially late, like last 20, 30 years, I would say, more and more, there are what I call new catches. Like these are new consciousnesses that haven't really been around in the soul trick for a long time. These are new people coming in that have
mm,
been new recruits in the cult. Would you like to come to our church on Sunday? That's how I got into this Christian cult. So I know cults from the inside out. This is decades ago. And the way
yeah,
I exited from it and what I had to do here, the
yeah,
self-education I had to do to get out of that cult. And it's the same MO. It's the same, that it operates in the same way in the corporate business. Corporate, what are they corporatizing? What is taking flesh? What is taking form? Filling forms,
hmm,
filling a form. You are filling something in form. It's
yeah,
all right there. Fill
yeah,
this form, please. With what? What am I filling this
yeah.
form with?
Contract. It's a con, right? Yeah,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
just all there, and it's the same thing. And what do you think? I want to also spend a little bit of time with going over your own work, your books, and your healings. But before we get into that, I tell us a little bit more about for me, that's the key. The whole game works on that one. The whole thing works on that one thing. Take that one thing away, and the game crashes. And that is the mind wipe. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is why Earth cannot be a school, because if it's a school, why would they wipe your memories? What's the point of coming here to quote unquote learn lessons to have them wiped again? I mean, this is straight out of the new age, because what they want to do is they're trying to explain this place away as something that it's not. They're trying to make it something that it's not. It is fact that this is a place of trauma, and there's some good things, don't get me wrong. Nature's beautiful, and I mean, even human love.
Well, even that, it's a
Yeah,
vampire paradise, I would
it's
say.
ruthless. I mean, I said the other day, like, we have bull sharks out there, and where I'm living, and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You get bitten in half, right?
Yeah, you lose your leg and you'll be
Yeah,
swimming and you like something feels and there's a
right,
trail of
right.
blood.
Yeah. We just had Hurricane Beryl here. I mean, whether or not that was real or manipulated, it still came here, and
Mm.
people died. And so nature itself is ruthless. Like the lion eating the antelope alive is ruthless. So everything about this place seems to be set up as some kind of trauma and suffering. And so the new age in particular will try and explain this place away as being something as it's not. And so yeah, in terms of the memory wipe after the life review, when they convince you to come back, pretty much most people don't want to come back. But of course, if you think you're going to hell, or your karma's not going to be good enough to whatever, then you're really left with no option in respect of the trick. And
Mm.
so yeah, the memory wipe is a process whereby you forget everything you learn in this lifetime. That's why they call it research, retire. Again, it's all in the etymology. And they even have schools there of the veil of forgetfulness. There, I remember reviewing one NDE where they convinced him to come back, told him that he had a mission or whatever, shoehorned him back in. And he was like, I don't want to go through the veil of forgetfulness. I don't want to go through, because I think it's kind of a traumatic thing for the soul to go through that memory wipe process. I don't know. I imagine it's like some kind of AI tunnel or something like that. I don't know exactly, um, but this guy reported speaking to these entities and saying that he doesn't want to go through the veil of forgetfulness again. And so they said to him, well, look, what about if we put you in this training school to prepare you for it? So they have schools in the
Mm.
astral to get you ready to
Mm.
go through the veil of forgetfulness. Um, they have jobs up there. I mean, prisons. I guess it's kind of as above, so below.
Mm.
And so this guy ended up going to training school for to go through the veil of forgetfulness again. And so yeah, it's the cruelest thing, because imagine, and like everything we learned this lifetime, that we get so close, and we just get it, we get close, but we don't get as far as a soul trick. And then all of a sudden, the memory's wiped and we've forgotten everything, and we have to have another lifetime where we're seeking the truth and whatever, and all this kind of stuff. So
You
it's
know,
the
one of the things that uh, struck me the other day was that most of the people who are now waking up or becoming aware of this whole scam are people who have at some point, especially when they were children, felt what the hell is this? There's this feeling of like sudden, like, I don't want to be here. What am I doing here?
yeah, yeah,
Especially in their childhood, a lot of people like us or who are it really makes sense to them. They're already, Hardy said it in some interview I was watching, is he's like, as a child, I had this idea that why am I here? Why am I here again? What the hell? And I
yeah,
remember
absolutely.
clearly that I clearly remember the moment where I was standing. I must have been about 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, something. And I remember saying, feeling very fucked off about it. Like, what the,
Mm.
what is this nonsense
Yeah,
again? You know?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think for many of us in this field, we have always been isolated, bullied. I think we've been sought out from. I mean, I had a lot of bullying going on. I think we're more sensitive, and I think a lot of these kids are probably NPCs that are targeted to, you know, target certain people that are source players, soul players.
Mm.
Um, and so I always I mean, school for me was just a horrible experience. I was such a nervous kid. I mean, oh my God, like my poor inner child. I mean, I've done a lot of work on that now. I had a lot of traumas around that, but yeah, I just remember like just being so lost, and I couldn't wait to leave school. And I remember when I left school, and I remember my last day, my parents picked me up. I was like, oh my God, I'm free now. And they're like, no, you've got to get a job now. And I'm like, what? So, you know, God bless my parents. I shouldn't say God bless really, but they just victim of the same matrix and the same programming. But I
Mm.
remember that conversation. I remember where I was in the car. I remember exactly. I was so disappointed that I'd gone through what, God, how many years do we go through school? Oh, and then because I went back because I got bad grades, right? So my parents made me go back and do resits, right? And I never, any job that I got, they weren't even bothered about my results, And so I had to go back again, and then when I did finally, I was like, "Oh my God, it's over! No, no, you got to go and get a job now, Tony." And I'm like, "What?"
It's only just
I
begun.
want to have fun. I think I said, "Oh my God, I can have fun now." Yeah, I think it was I said something along those, and they like, I don't know who was driving, but my mum or something, or the passenger looked at, no, you got to get a job now. I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
a job, right, great." So yeah, I think many of us have experienced a lot of trauma, and um, we've been singled out and felt alone and isolated. And I remember having exactly the same thoughts, looking around like, what is this place?
Mm.
But it goes deeper than that as well. I mean, I do a lot of regression work with people, and they go back to I've had people go back to memories where the baby didn't want to be born, and like the baby was. I mean, that's why they call it abortion.
Mm.
For some people, for some souls, they don't even get here because the veil of forgetfulness and the process. I mean, the birthing process itself is, well, I mean, it's satanic. I mean, the woman's supposed to squat, not lay, so you get caught up in the birth canal, and then you get whisked off in an incubator at your vital bonding moments. You get your umbilical cord cut, which is where you'll get absorbing all the DNA and all that from mum and the nutrition. And I like the whole thing is just, I've had so many people that a lot of trauma is just, and me myself, just from birth, just
Mm.
from the birthing process. So yeah, the veil of forgetfulness is like the worst thing. It's the most evil thing that they do in terms of,
That truly is. If that is the diabolical part for me
yeah.
is, and at the same time, what genius! Like, uh, if you, for me, I can step back and really respect admire the way the predation, the like the setup. If it's just genius. It's just really freaking amazing. Well done, I would say. I want nothing
It
but respect for this
it
setup.
is.
Just
It
so
is.
well done.
It is. But when you realize the trick, it loses all its power. All
Yes.
of its power. Like literally, once you can, if you can get past your feelings in terms of the soul trick, because a lot of people, they get stuck. It's too much for them.
Mm.
They almost get there, but they can't let go of the fact that God's not going to be there on their side, or their angels aren't going to be there, or dead dad's not going to be there. I mean, this is how cruel they are. They use dead relatives, even
Mm.
pets in some cases. And this is what I'm saying to people. I'm like, hey, look, when you're alive, be close to all these people. Maybe in another dimension, in another reality, we meet again, right? But do not get so attached where you cannot, you know, it starts to cloud your sense of truth.
Yes.
You know, this especially goes for religious people or you know, people with those rigid matrix belief systems, because a lot of New Agers, they go from New Age to religion and the opposite direction. A lot of religious people go from religion to the New Age, but all they're doing is they're swapping one feel good factor for another. Um, so if you can get out of your feelings, put your feelings to one side, and draw the conclusions that I think that we have, you have the keys out of here.
Yeah.
And I think as genius as it is, how they've set things up, it does lose all its power in once you realize the setup. But the issue is where they want to take this next, because they know that this kind of soul trick is starting to people are clocking onto it.
You know,
So
Tony, I feel that uh, every reset, every reset, there's a window. And I felt this for, it's really like, I'm sure, as I'm sure you always experience it, that you get an insight or you get something, then you do a research on it and you figure out your conclusions. And then pretty soon after that, you find like an Instagram channel or a YouTube channel or someone else talking about exactly that same thing, or someone will write a book or has written a book about it or something. And it's like this confirmation that, yeah, okay, there you go. It's not just me. Other people are also coming to the same independently with, oh, they're completely unique. They're not me. They're coming to exactly the same. And then I heard Howdy say something. He said exactly that in between resets, there's this window of opportunity where awareness starts outgrowing the matrix.
yes,
It's,
yeah,
you know, it starts out and the individual awarenesses start seeing through the scam.
yes, yes.
And so they've got this window where you can sort of, because what's coming next, each reset, there's evidence in the architecture, in the stones, there's evidence of each reset. And for me, you know, this what's coming next is gonna be much more diabolical, much more like really putting people in a safe and convenient crib, which they are gonna pay for with their, you know, and they're gonna appeal to the safety and convenience part of the psyche where, you know, we will protect you, you will be kept safe, you don't have to worry about anything. Everything will be convenient. Drones will drop off your shopping to your house. You don't even need to move away from your computer. In fact, we'll give you a computer in your head now. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna make us look like wild animals compared to
yeah.
what's coming. Now, here's where I wanted to take you to your books. So if you could spend a bit of time, so Tony has written some amazing books. I have not read one of them. I have not read any book for years. Tony's website is transcendingtimes.org. The link will be below. Tony, let's start, go through some of your work. So I want to go through some of them in chronology. Let's start with Plugged into Porn. So a brief
Yeah.
synopsis.
So with the books, just to be transparent, I'm actually, because my opinions have changed on so many things, a lot of them I'm in the process of changing. So obviously the plugged into porn one is still valid. I mean, you know, the way they've sexualized society and
The
degraded.
younger and younger age.
Yeah, yeah, and there's, you know, just something within men when we lose something, when we, you know, masturbate and things like that. So that really just goes into, yeah, that kind of side of things. I think we, you know, we as men, we lose our creative energy, and
Mhm.
and so, you know, that has impacts on our life, on our mission, on our purpose as men. So yeah,
How
that
about, go on, sorry, go on.
go on. What was your question?
I was going to say, how about then, how did you move from the porn topic to artificial intelligence? Because I believe all the work you've done with the books and with your own, the chakra healing and what the offerings you're sharing, I think it's all one topic. I don't
Yeah,
think they're different topics. They're
yeah, no,
different arms of the same, the different tentacles of the same octopus, as it were.
yeah, absolutely. It's exposing on the one hand, but offering solutions on the other. But yeah, the artificial intelligence one goes into really something that I wanted to touch on in terms of what the new soul. Well, that may actually be a trap, the new one, because I don't know if you've seen the series Black Mirror. Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
No, I have seen Westworld season 1 though, which I recommend highly.
I need to watch that. So basically, where they want to take this is in terms of the soul trick. As I say, people are starting to become aware of it now, and the new way of doing it is going to be via technology. So what they're going to do over the next sort of few years is we're going to see quote unquote miracles where maybe things like cancer gets cured via technology. You can just put a chip on your head or something, and and all this stuff. So what it's going to do is going to build confidence in technology's the ability to heal. And of course, with the younger generation, unfortunately, I see it with my own niece and nephew. They've always got technology. They're on computer games. They've got it in their ears. They're already used to, constantly, attached to it, if you like. It's on the body now.
Mm.
And so all that's been normalized. And of course, the next thing is they're trying to get it in the body. They microchip pets, and they did it in Sweden. There's some people that have got chips in their hands, and so they want to get it in the body. But so we're going to see all these kind of miracles, and everyone's going to continue to think technology is great. And don't get me wrong, it has its uses. We're putting this podcast together, we're raising awareness, but it can go too far. And I think what they want to do and what they will do eventually is they will promise eternal life. And how they're going to do that is they're going to say, just say Bob is terminally ill. They'll say, well, hey, Bob, unfortunately, you've got this disease, and, you've got 5 months to live or whatever. And Bob's like, oh my God, you're joking me. But problem, reaction, solution. What we can do is we can offer you something called consciousness transference. Oh, what's that then? Well, basically what we can do, Bob, is we can download your consciousness onto this USB or this microchip, and we can clone you, and we can put this chip into your clone, and then you can exist forever. Oh, great. That's all right then. And there's a very cruel, I mean, it's a very dark series in Black Mirror where there's this episode where they go back to this museum. This museum's hundreds of years old, and it's in the future. And within some of the the casings, there's this teddy bear, and the whole episode goes on about the teddy bear and how the person put their consciousness in the teddy bear.
Right.
And so the teddy bear is now in a museum, but the consciousness of the person is stuck in the teddy bear from hundreds of years back. And the consciousness in the teddy bear is like, help me get out of here, help me get out. And it's stuck in this casing. And of course, no one hears it, but so the consciousness is still stuck there. And it's really cruel, like, even though it's just a teddy bear, but the consciousness is
That's horrific. Yeah.
yeah, it's horrific, right? So I think this is where they want to take it, consciousness transference, in terms of downloading your consciousness, putting it into a quantum computer. And of course, once it's in a quantum computer, I mean, that's going to be that's going to take a lot of getting out of and working out how to get out of that. So I think that's where they want to take it in the future if we allow it, and so that book really goes into talking about that kind of stuff, and how we're losing jobs to AI and all this stuff. the other books really are in the process of being updated. I mean, in the original book that I wrote, Are You Living or Just Existing? I mean, I talk there about karma and natural law, and I don't even believe in that anymore. So, you know, I've changed a lot of opinions from that. But the New Age, New Cage, the New Age is the New Cage is still completely valid. That's probably the most popular book that I have, where I talk about, you know, a lot of these deceptions within the New Age, and, you know, false light beings and chakras and all that stuff. And so,
On
yeah,
that note, I wanted to have your have you run through one of the offerings you have is chakra removal. I'm just looking
yes.
at it right now. Could you talk overlay removals? That's right. Chakra and overlay removals. Talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so basically, again, you know, people get stuck in their feelings about this because they've made the chakras look so beautiful with the rainbow colors and the lotus flowers and, you know, all that kind of stuff, all the love and light new age stuff. And when I first heard about the chakra being an AI etheric implant, I guess I wasn't triggered like some people get triggered, but, you know, I'd done Reiki back in the days, and, you know, worked with the chakras and all that stuff. And for a moment, I'm like, what? but but part of me, it resonated. I was like, do you know what? I could just imagine that they would do, knowing how deceptive that these entities are, they would just paint this picture of these chakras being these wonderful things, you know, that we need to balance every day. Otherwise, we feel like shit, you know, just and anyway, I went through the process of having the removal done. It was done remotely. I've spoke about this a lot, and it was just like night and day. I mean, I just felt light. The constant mind chatter that I was, or we're all subject to, had dialed right down. I had more space in my head. I could actually hear my own thoughts. I'm like, and you know, all the things that I worried about we're no that we're not there anymore. And it just goes to show how many of our voices in our heads are not ours, and their attachments. But the chakras essentially are just an AI implant that entities use to lock into our energy system and siphon off our energy and loop those negative thoughts around. So we have many different etheric implants, but of course chakras is the one that everyone latches onto. It is a big weapon that they have. So when you remove it, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't stop everything. You know, of course, if you're going to go and take drugs or drink alcohol, or you've got a lot of unhealed wounds, you know, they can still use those things against you. They can, you know, work through other people and stuff. But you remove that implant, it can make a big difference in your life. There's more flow. I mean, you know, when you think about it, what intelligent design would compartmentalize our energy anyway? So it doesn't make sense. So we still have our three natural chakras, the Dantian points, and around the third eye, the heart, and the sacral. But the other seven that are, you know, we're told that are so great, they're just an artificial implant. And like I say, one of just hundreds probably that we have. We have a lot on the heart. You know, they don't like the expansion of the heart, so that's a very targeted area. The brain, to slow down our cognitive functioning and all that stuff. And so the hijacking, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it, right? I prefer to turn it on its head, right? When you consider, I mean, look at all the stuff that they're doing, right? They're poisoning the food, the water, the air. They're trying to change the weather. They're just like the mind control on the TV, the news, and, you know, just the heavy metals everywhere. Like why do they need to do all of this? And then you look at the etheric targeting on the energy level, and see all the entities interfering, and the implants and all that kind of, and you can look at it and think, well, you know, we're screwed. But the reason they have to do that is because they know how incredibly powerful just one human soul is. You know,
Yes.
we have a whole world within us, and so the targeting is adjacent to the expansion, the expansiveness of what we are. And when you study these NDEs, you know, you don't always find out bad things. Sometimes you can find out good things, and people have reported just seeing the expansion of their energy and just how incredible it was. And so I think it's important to remember that, but it's very difficult for people because people have had so much trauma and suffering and all that stuff. When someone comes along and says, you know, you're incredible and you're brilliant and you're, you know, they've got all those blockages with all the trauma. It's very
Hard
difficult
to
for them
believe, yeah.
to feel that. So this is why, you know, inner work is important, and you know, working through all of those stuff, those traumas. But yeah, essentially the chakras are just an implant, one of many that we have. It's an overlay, and yeah, it's
What about could you talk a little bit? I know we haven't got much time left. Entity alien technology and interdimensional removal.
yeah, yeah. I mean that just it just adds on to what I was already talking about. It's just the session where we go into other areas maybe of the body, and look at removing different implants. And basically the way it works is my subconscious, I just ask it to show me what I need to remove. So this is something that everyone can do. I do have a course as well where I teach people, which is also on my website, because what I really want is people to learn how to clear this stuff themselves. You know, the world needs people to be able to manage their own energy. Um, so like I say, it's not that I'm like a special person, or you know, I have special powers. Everyone has the ability. It's just the difference between me and someone else is I've spent 10 years doing it, right? So it's like anything. It's like a good electrician.
Mm.
I'm not going to try and fix the electrics myself because I'm not, you know, I haven't got the skill set yet. But if I spent 10 years learning how to do it, I'm pretty sure I could do a good job. And it's the same thing, you know, psychic abilities, you know, those kind of things. We all have them. Remote viewing, telepathy. We all have those abilities. It's just they lay dormant within us. And if you don't use it, you lose it, basically. It's like if I if I was just to go to the gym and work on my right arm and not never work on my left arm, my right arm's going to become muscles and strong, and my left arm's going to be weak. And so it's the same thing with these things as well. So yeah, all those sessions are really just clearing a junk. You know, I call myself a shit shifter, and
I love
and
it.
yeah, and you know, there's nothing glamorous, there's nothing angelic, or I'm not working with light language. I just use my own energy to clear shit that shouldn't be there. So that session is just another variation of that.
Fantastic. I love it. Tony, have we got time for one more question, or are we
Yeah, go on.
yeah. What's coming for Tony Sayers? What's in the works? What exciting things can we look forward to?
I don't know whether you call it exciting, and then it's some kind. It's like a burden, you know. It is a heavy burden walking around, though, especially when you get to this deep level of not of knowing that this is a farm. Sometimes it can be difficult to stay motivated, but you know, I say to people, look, if it's hopefully it's your last time here. I've heard so many people tell me, Tony, I've always known it's my last time here. So the amount of people that said that to me, it's uncanny. And
That's very encouraging
it is
to
very
hear that.
encouraging, yeah. And so for me, I feel like, you know, hopefully I've got enough knowledge. I'm never going to say that I've got it all, or I think I know everything. There's always more, but I think I've got a good handle on, you know, how the hell to get out of it. And for me, I'm gonna do the best I can. The days of like trying to wake everyone up are long gone. That ship sailed when the illness came along and everyone got poked, you know. But you know, obviously, I'm here to serve the people that want to go deeper. They want to find out about, you know, the deeper levels of, you know, just how we can get out of here. And you know, where that takes me. Now I'm starting to look at maybe, you know, astral traveling, out of body, you know, practicing in that realm. So that time comes, maybe I'm more you or we are more used to doing that. So it's, you know, it's not so much of a shock when we do pass over. Even also the idea that or not even the idea, the fact that, you know, people talk about the human body being so brilliant. Well, I say, well, is it? You know, I mean, it seems to
Yeah.
be, you know, that like the suffering, like watching our parents suffer long drawn out illnesses and painful
And
deaths.
also just even, Tony, even just the basic design. The basic design doesn't makes no sense. A spider design makes a lot more sense, or a bird design makes a lot more sense. Four-leg design makes a lot more sense in terms of engineering, torque, in terms of leverage physics. Literally, this two-leg bullshit makes no sense. And on top of that, for survival, apparently, you can't regrow teeth. The things that the body regrows are not necessary for fucking nails.
Yeah,
But teeth can't regrow, limbs can't regrow, eyes
yeah,
can't regrow. You need vision, you need arms. Do you know what I mean? Just
yeah, yeah.
basic design is like, this is a dumbed down model. This is where this is a, it's like dinky cars that just progressively got really badly made in China or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, when you buy those you buy those fake football kits, right? In Thailand, like and they kind of look like they were real, but they're not.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
I mean, I got toothache about a month ago, and I was in agony, and I'm like, why the pain? Like,
Mm,
why so much? Like, what?
mm.
So it almost seems like, I hate to say it, but it almost seems like designed for torture, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
so I'm thinking now, and I'm not telling people to suicide, right? This isn't a suicide cult, right? To be very, adamant when I say that. I'm not suicidal. I'm not telling people to, but I'm thinking, is there a way that we can just exit when we want to go, right? When we're like, okay, I've had enough, or okay, I'm getting ill, I'm getting old, my body's starting to decay. I think my time, and I was putting this in my I mentioned this in my training group for my course, and someone told me that the some of the natives used to know how to do that, like they could just leave.
There is precedence as well in Bharat with India, where I know first-hand accounts from my people I know who have had who have followed other people in India. There is precedence. There is one or two. I'll just say one because we're lacking in time now. There's a very famous Indian classical singer.
Say both of them because it's important.
Okay, thank you. The first one is, which struck me, was this very famous Indian classical singer back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, something. And he was quite old. He spent his entire life just digging that one well, this Indian classical vocal singing. And it is so tough to do, so tough to do. And he was traveling on a train one day with his kind of entourage, and he suddenly said, "Can we stop the train, please? It's my time." He got off the train like the train stopped wherever it was, middle of nowhere. He got off, sat by the side on the side of the train, asked for some fruit and milk. Someone brought him some milk and fruit. Had a bit of those, sat down, started singing. Had his Indian, tanpura, and started singing a particular rag, which he said, "This is the rag I have meant to sing when I'm gonna go from here." And he exited singing. But
Really?
that was the level of mastery he had achieved in terms of breath and consciousness and opening up to the what you would call the grand divine, whatever word you want to use, the grand divine. Or so there is one precedent. That is a documented case. He died, literally died singing. The other one, a singing student of mine, I used to give singing lessons for decades. So this lady, she was a yoga teacher. She trained in India in a particular ashram, and she said the yoga person who ran that ashram, the main guy, he died in front of her, in front of many of the sort of the followers. Same thing. He one day woke up. He said, "Today is my time," and he sat down on his little raised little thing that he was his favorite thing under the tree, outdoors, and both are outdoors. Many of the common things are people who are able to exit consciously are doing it outdoors, not
mm,
in painted boxes.
mm,
And he sat under the tree in some yoga posture. There's just a relaxed kind of a posture, and everyone sat with him, kept the vigil, and eventually there was nothing inhabiting that body after a certain point.
mm,
Then duly the doctor was called and declared dead and all the rest of it. So I
interesting.
have two, like, first kind of real, not just he said, she said, I read in a book or something, proper accounts that I can totally know that there is precedence. It is
Yeah,
possible. It is
yeah,
definitely possible.
yeah, I'm sure it is. And you know, someone mentioned in my group, I don't know, I mean, I haven't tried it yet. Obviously, this I'm just all theorizing now. And uh, yeah, I think anyone that has information on that, or if you have information, just like email me, because
Mm.
I'm really kind of researching that area now. But um yeah, it's definitely, it makes sense that we should be able to do that. And yeah, I mean, why not? Like we should.
Tony, it seems to me from what I have researched about it, it seems to me that, there's a word in Hindi or Sanskrit, which is a very beautiful word. It's called sadhana. Sadhana is what, uh, you know, it's just digging this one well, this just all your life, just this one thing. You're going to get better and better and better and better. And you're kind of not enslaved to it, but you are really just serving that one discipline. Like Bruce Lee is never going to talk about cooking, baking cakes.
Yeah,
He's only
yeah,
ever going to talk about one thing all the time, constantly. Mozart's never
yeah,
going to talk about sewing clothes.
yeah.
So that sadhana means there's one pointed sort of taking one piece of knowledge and just embodying it and embodying it and letting it take you into yourself, because
Mm,
all knowledge leads to self-knowledge, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
becoming so in it that, in Toltec terms, it would say you use that as a way to pull yourself
Hmm.
into the larger sea of awareness. That's the way the Toltec
Mm,
words would describe it.
mm,
And it does seem to, because that journey is hellish. It's not a nice journey.
ah,
One would have to overcome so much within.
mm,
It requires so much discipline, so much commitment
mm,
to just, this is what I have offered myself to, and
mm,
let me see where it takes it. And invariably, it takes you have to go inside with it. You have to go inside with it. And
mm,
I find that at least in the Bharatiya system, the Indian sort of system, sages and the rishis and all these people who have managed to do it, there has been a lifelong commitment to whatever, something, yoga or whatever it may be. It doesn't seem to matter what it is, as long as it is leading you to self-knowledge, which it invariably does, if your
mm,
commitment is true.
mm.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just making sure that you're choosing the right things
Mm,
to engage in, because you know, I think for me, a lot of yoga practices are, well, actually, you know, I'm not saying all of them. I think, you know, if there's ways to practice leaving the body, that's definitely beneficial. But certainly some of the, I mean, Crowley used to practice yoga, and there's some questionable things around some of that stuff. But yeah, I think intention is the most important thing. And I think we were talking, or you mentioned earlier, about how, you know, there seems to be like this collective intention where the truth is starting to rise. And, you know, I'm sure it would be the same with information like that. I think you know, if there's enough people that want to find out how that can be done, I think that truth will also come to the surface. But I don't know, maybe if it has to be so complicated, because people are able to. I haven't done it yet. I still have not fear, but I get hit quite a lot from the astral, as you can imagine. So I have to be careful. But you know, people seem to be willing to able to leave their body, and it seems to be something that can be done relatively easy. And I guess surely maybe it's just a case of not coming back to the body. Maybe it's more complex than that. You know, I know that we have the white what's it called, the cord, and I've actually cut that because I believe it's to be some kind of matrix thing. So the energy cord that seems to attach the spirit to the body. And I actually felt, me and my friend did it just with intention, just cut it. And we felt a lot of kind of more energy coming around the sacral when we did that. So I think that could be some kind of interference that keeps us attached more strongly to the human body. But these are all questions and everything that's kind of floating around now in my mind, and I'm looking at information and opinions, and hearing yours there are also very interesting, and in terms of where I think maybe this may be leading, because I think we would all agree, if we could, you know, exit when we want to exit and not have to go through all that pain and decay and suffering, then it would definitely be more favorable. I mean, of course, you know, you can always go in a car crash and all that kind of stuff, but you know, ideally, you know, when the time comes and we want to go, why not? You know, I think there's a solution for every problem that exists, and I think that we can find that solution, and yeah, let's see where that goes. So, but other than that, it's more podcasts, probably more exposing the soul trap. And you know, I have a niece and nephew. I don't have children of my own, but I have a niece and nephew that I need to make sure that I've done everything that I can to. I mean, I don't know if it will. I don't know if this world is beyond saving or changing at this stage, but I need to be able to like look myself in the mirror from their point of view. So crazy uncle conspiracy theorist. So, but you know, I think for them I need to continue to speak up, and yeah, I'm just gonna like try and enjoy it as best as I'm here. You know, I still like to do things. I love diving and the ocean and traveling, and I mean, even that now, I've done so much of that. It's like, you know, you go to these places and, you know, you see the same kind of things, kind of slightly different variations. Then, of course, you got all the poor people and the rich people. I've just come back from Mexico City, and, you know, it's even that now, I'm a little bit like, okay, you know. So, but I try and poke fun of it all, and laugh at it as best that I can. And yeah, I think that'll be it while I'm here.
I think you made a very good point that at this critical juncture where one flavor of, you know, the farm is shifting from kind of roughly free range to battery chickens within the next 10 years, I believe. But at the same time, the scales are balancing as well towards people accessing more and more knowledge of how to, you know, of giving themselves more choices in a way. And that may be a very valid and stage coming up for all of us, where increasingly it starts to become obvious. Oh yeah, that's the way to exit. Or that, oh yeah, it never really was available to us, but now suddenly we can see, you know, like soul trap. This wasn't a popular topic 2 years ago, 5 years ago, right? Only very few people, there were no YouTube channels on this kind of stuff, not that long ago. But now it's like really. And so that's very, very interesting insight you had there. That very encouraging insight that I think it might be inevitable that at some point we all discover, or it becomes obvious to everyone, oh, that's the way to exit. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Oh, it wasn't
Yeah,
that hard in the end. It was just
yeah,
we were getting
absolutely.
tricked again,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I don't think the truth is complicated. Oftentimes, I think
Yes,
it's often a very simple thing. And yeah, I think if anyone deserves an easy way out of this place, I think it's the people that have been, committed their lives and gone against the grain, taken dog's abuse, being called conspiracy theorists. I think we deserve it. And I think ultimately most of us, if you're at this level of the conspiracy, I think the chances are that you're going to make it out of here. It's just whether or not we can do it in a more controlled and gentle way.
mm.
And so that's where I'm at this point. So I think, and the other burning question I have is how did we get here in the first place? I think that
That's yeah.
yeah, that for
Where
me
did we come from?
remains. I mean, my feeling is we were again deceived. Maybe we came from other realms and these entities showed up and said, hey, look, there's this place called Earth and it's a really good ride, like
It's exactly like the Jehovah's Witnesses. They come knocking on your door, right?
yeah, yeah. So I feel like maybe we were manipulated to be here to become these cows on the farm. I don't really like, or not that I don't like, it doesn't really feel right that we're being like punished or we weren't good or something, or that just doesn't seem right to me. Um, so yeah, I feel like that really is an unanswered question that I still have, and yeah,
I have a
so
feeling, Tony, that even that, all of this will come as insights to people like you, people like Howdy, where you will start making videos, guys, this is what the insight, this is where, the sort of, I really feel that. I really feel that we are powerful enough to generate knowledge, literally
mm,
generate it, to radiate it as and when it's needed for us. We
yeah,
fashion the keys and we fashion the lock, or
yeah,
if we don't fashion the lock, we can definitely fashion the key
yeah,
at the time that we're ready, I really do believe that. And so if you're saying that, that's seeding it
yeah,
in the
and
field of awareness. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's inevitably just going to come back as knowledge.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I hope so. And yeah, I mean, when I look back at 10 years ago when I first got involved with all this, the level of people that are speaking about stuff now, I mean, there's millions of people. Like TikTok's a good gauge for that. I mean, I
Mm.
went on there and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people talking about the stuff that's going on. Like, and 10 years ago there was few people, so they're definitely scared. I mean, that's why there's all the censorship, and they seem to be in a race to get things. They're
Mm.
having to do things a lot quicker. I mean, every day there's a new psyop. I mean, it's like, and I think it's waking more and more people up. So it seems to me like they're in a mad rush. And I mean, the whole illness thing, I was surprised because I thought maybe they would do something for America, but they went after the whole world. And they didn't they bring Agenda 2030 forward or something? And so everything seems to be, there seems to be
Accelerated.
yeah, like a panic or something. And I know these entities, they're panicking. I know they're scared because
Mm.
I've spent the last 10 years knowing and understanding how they work. And really they're like the proverbial Wizard of Oz behind the
Yes,
curtain. They
100%.
they really
100%.
are. I mean, I was watching I mean, the level of interference people have, when they think about having a session with me, or the voices that people get in the session, or I'll show up in their dream as the devil the day that they book the session. Like
Mm.
they really, they're just terrified, and yeah, I don't think that what they're doing is definitely evil, but we shouldn't fear them. We should really remember who we are, and yeah, so it's definitely interesting times, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fantastic. Tony, thank you so much for giving up your time and going over a little bit. Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Thank you.
just quickly, Tony's website, if anyone's interested, is transcendingtimes.org, not .com, .org. Go and check it out. Tony offers many modalities for well-being. Some of them will be particularly effective to your particular situation. So Tony's a specialist in these things. Go and check it out. I highly recommend. You guys know that I would not get just someone for the first ever interview on this channel. You know this. So Tony has my full recommendation, and do check him out. Do go to his channel. Tony, your channel, is it Tony Sayers?
It's just my name, Tony Sayers, on YouTube. Yeah, so
Fantastic. This recording will be uploaded very soon. So for us all to access, go and watch. Tony has many interviews on YouTube. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Go check out his channel. Check out his books. He's up in the process of updating them. So that's really, really good. And highly recommend it. So thank you, Tony. And people, let me know if you want Tony again, and if Tony's available to and wants to be here again, then put it in the comments and then I'll try my best to rope him in again.
I'd be happy to come back and thank you for your insights and yeah, providing the space to do this, because this is your free time as well, and we don't get paid for doing any of this stuff. So yeah, thanks so much.
Pleasure. Tony, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks a
Bye
lot.
for now.
Bye.